Okay.
Good
Randy.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Randy Stam. I'm the e-learning coordinator for Idaho State University. Um, and I've been attending the Moodle Moot for quite some time now, since the start of it. I think I've only missed one, but it's always a joy to see everyone, even virtually. Um, Welcome to my office. It's kind of funny now that we're doing this virtually. You get to see other people's offices if they let you do that, if they're not using a virtual background, right? Um, and so I just wanted to let you know that I'm in Meridian, Idaho right now. That's where my office is. The rest of my team, which I see that have joined us from Pocatello, where Idaho State University's main campus is. Um, So I'm going to go ahead and get started my presentation, but I did want to let you know that anytime if you have questions, please add something to the chat, or if you'd like to ask me the question, please do that too. If you want to join us via audio and do that, please do. And I may be asking you all questions, so if you don't want me to do that, then this is the time to jump out and escape. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to our next slide here. So really, this presentation was looking at identifying some of the support gaps and concerns moving from our classroom environments to Moodle ISU. And if you notice my presentation title, and I know Ryan was concerned that I had misspelled something in my presentation, or it didn't make a lot of sense, but to explain the happen piece, I think this right here explains what has happened, or what happened when we moved come March 13th, when we had everything move online. I mean, this is really what happened. Is like will happen, happening, and then happen, and probably within a week's time, this is what we were doing. And it's the students, the faculty, and everyone, and we learned a lot. Um, and one of the things that we did was put together a survey. And matter of fact, Lisa Kidder, who is on here too, presenting, she's the one that put the instrument together and collected some data. And before I really get into the survey part, I think at a support level, we learned a lot as a team. And I really believe that having this pandemic, it was more of an opportunity for us to reevaluate what we're doing and how we support people. And it's been just fantastic as an eye opener for us. And I don't think it really was something that we were all stressed about, but it was just a different way to support people. Fortunately, we had a lot in place, and what we did have in place, thank goodness, back in last fall, we had started putting all our classes, all the registration piece, our classes all in Moodle. So there was a course shell for all of our courses in Moodle in the spring. So whether or not a faculty member was using it or not, there was one available to them. So as we thought about, how are we going to get everyone in line? Well, that piece of it was done. And I know some of our counterparts and some of the other institutions were having to go through and add additional courses. And that I know probably was time consuming for them and was concerning. The one thing that we needed to figure out was, well, how are we going to take our existing resources and support folks online? What were some of the concerns? And there were resources that we developed as we started identifying those uh, um, support issues. So one of the things that we did, again, is this survey to help us kind of understand what some of those support gaps were, and not knowing uh, some of the things that we didn't know. And so As far as the instrument's concerned, we collected data from the 72 faculty and like 461 students towards the end of the semester, and to get an idea of what the concerns were, what the support issues were, and see if we were not overlooking some things. So, as far as communication is concerned, so the faculty is really the first question here. Is I've been able to communicate well with my students, and most of the faculty felt like they did. They strongly agreed or to agree, and where the students were just slightly under that. But for the most part, I think everyone felt like instructors and students communicated well. And a lot of times we look at this quantitative data, and I like to really look at the qualitative data, and we'll be getting into that in a second. But just wanted to do a quick overview of where we are with things. So as far as Moodle overall use and ease of use, faculty, they basically strongly agreed, and even with the faculty that never taught online before, even agreed that they felt Moodle was easy to use. Students, for the most part, felt they would have to agree that it was easy enough to use. Some of the students that never take online courses, and these were the same ones that had a lot of the qualitative feedback that we got, also said that they didn't want to take anything online, that they wanted to be in the classroom. And so we definitely saw frustrations there. And so that you may be shown here as those folks that never took an online course before, that maybe there was some frustration or focus on not taking online. Please ask questions as I go here too. I'll be kind of navigating quickly through these, so stop me if you have questions. So looking at Moodle ISU students here, and I'm just picking some of the most used resources, the quizzes and forums, and so the students agreed that the quizzes seemed to be, it worked very well. They felt like quizzes were their top item. Forums were also, but I think looking at the 67 that never took an online course before, a little bit lower, not drastically lower, but a little bit lower. So there were some open-ended type questions, some qualitative type feedback that we received, and none of this should be surprising at all. Connectivity issues, and I'm sure that's with everyone, were a huge concern. And this is really, I want to get feedback from some of you that, from your own institutions. I mean, looking at all the questions or support issues that came in from students, did you find that was connectivity issues a top option or top issue for a lot of your students?
I think we definitely had that issue. One of the things that we kind of did to ourselves is we went fully distance while the students were still on campus. And we had one new set of apartments where we had one wireless access point that was covering a lot of space. And normally this didn't cause issues, even with students gaming and playing Netflix. But when you had 16 students on this one wireless access point, it turned out that Zoom didn't work so well. So we figured out that was a hardware issue that didn't even involve the students. And then we started thinking about this as students at home, and we found connectivity issues. It wasn't our platform's problem. It was like, you're in the basement and the access point is way up in the attic, and then mom comes walking by with a cast iron thing or something, and who know, you know, they're just weird variables like that. So we definitely had those kinds of issues, and it had mostly to do with the synchronous video conferencing.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of that, even with the video playback of existing videos were a concern too, and just having connectivity issues. That was probably our biggest challenge, especially with our students. And but there were also comments about, well, you know, my personal computer really wasn't up to par. But it was an opportunity for our students too to say, hey, you know what? I don't have very good connectivity. I need to evaluate my internet service provider. I need to evaluate my computer. Did I go get a new computer? Do I need to go check one out at the institution? And there, it was a valuable point in the sense that students identified where they lacked in their technology, and it was a time for them to go and find the right technology to be successful in this environment. So I'm gonna just go ahead and continue here. So some questions that they had, and I thought it was interesting because I'd seen this question come up quite a bit, is that what will we be doing in the fall? It wasn't, I don't want to do what we're doing. That wasn't really the question. The question was, what will we be doing? It's not, I don't care if we're on campus or we're online. I think the question was just, I want to know what we're doing going forward. Am I going online? Am I going to be on campus? Is it going to be a mix of both? And I think that was something that we all were asking ourselves. And I think, I don't even know if that question's even answered at this point, other than we hope to be on campus. We're hoping to use a different, what's called a HyFlex model, where we're in the classroom part of the time and meeting virtually the other part of the time. And so it's you know, it's some of those unknowns that I think that were the bigger questions from the students. And then what was interesting is that we had the quantitative data that was collecting that it didn't seem like communication was a big concern, but yet a lot of the comments in the qualitative data show that communication was a concern. And the communication may have not been just, well, how do I communicate? Is that I think the students communicate one way and the faculty member was communicating another way. But I think that was a little concerning in the sense that the students weren't able to communicate well with the faculty member. But knowing that this whole transition was happening right when spring break was happening, when people were away, people were coming back, and then coming back to some unknowns. And without reading and catching up on your email and catching up in your class, or not knowing now I have a Moodle class, there were a lot of unknowns. And so it doesn't surprise me that there were some communication concerns. Okay, so what suggestions? And I thought this was interesting. And you'll notice when we go to look at the faculty information too, the qualitative information for the faculty, there's some similarities here. And so the faculty needs support with online courses. I think there were some frustrations with students, which we all know that, you know, if somebody's teaching in the classroom and now all of a sudden has to go into this synchronous or asynchronous environment, there's a lot to learn, right? We can't do that within a day or a week's time. And then the other part here, again, access to better internet, and then again, faculty communication. So I thought that was kind of interesting. No surprises though. So let's go into the faculty. And I thought this was kind of interesting, is that the quizzes and forums were kind of rated the same for both the faculty and students. What was surprising is that with the faculty that were new, never taught online, was higher in forums as far as worked very well. I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. And I don't know if that's just because they decided to market higher or they thought they should be using it. It was just an interesting point. Okay, so I think as a technical side of things, I think technical issues, connectivity was the biggest one here. I think not only connectivity for the faculty, but connectivity for the students. They recognize it as an issue or a problem for the students. So some of the questions the faculty had concerning about proctoring, exam security, and these are things that we were discovering as we were going too. And I don't know if anybody was using Examity, but we were using live proctoring with Examity. And unfortunately, all their labs and their live proctoring was basically shut down. And so there really wasn't a good solution for us going forward with Examity and getting proctoring done until some sort of AI solution was in place. Knowing that and going forward, knowing that we were going to need some sort of proctoring resource, we identified a couple other proctoring solutions to have in place. And we were fortunate enough to put some together. They were AI solutions. And that kind of helps support our fear of not having anything. We also encouraged faculty to go forward with other means of assessment in the sense of more open-ended type of questions. We, paper-based or reports and things like that that would allow different types of assessment. Unfortunately, they had the same amount of time to grade at the end of the semester. There wasn't really that much leniency in that respect. So we did adopt Proctorio, and we did Proctor Free. We added those other two services to our pool of proctoring solutions. Right now, we're looking at making use of the proctoring solution that Safe Exam Browser for within the Moodle with its new upgrade. And that's something that we are investigating and hoping to make available this fall. The other thing is that there were mentions of a math editor for notations and so on, and there were some concerns there, and also for lab solutions. Well, one of the things that Michael Spall's been working on is looking at a solution for math editor and chemistry editor or notation type tool, and trying to develop something for that. We were looking at Wireless was recommended by, I think, the departments themselves, but Michael Spall is looking at putting those within the HTML editors to make available. And I think he's getting really close on the chemistry one. I'm not sure where he is on that, but I know like the math editor is set up, and hopefully by this fall we'll have something in place for that.
So I have the chemistry editor that does the easiest parts working, but there's a higher level one, a different one that does the organic chemistry that uses Marvin JavaScript. And that one I don't quite have working yet because the company may have kind of pulled it back from being kind of free and open source to pay to play. And then Dan has a question.
Okay.
What solution did you decide on? We are also pushing faculty to other means of assessment.
What other solutions as far as proctoring?
Or maybe assessment. I think oh, he means proctoring. Yes, I thought maybe he meant assessment.
Proctoring. Yeah, so like I was mentioning, we're still using Examity. and we're using Proctorio, and we're also using Proctor Free. I'm not sure what we'll be using going forward as things settle down and we get back to whatever normal is. But I think what we've learned is that we really don't need live proctoring. That a lot of the AI solutions do really well with what our needs are. And then encouraging faculty to use alternative type assessments is something that we really are trying to push. And I think now with fall coming up, I think the faculty will have an extra week to do a lot of their grading. So there's something built into fall to allow faculty to have the ability to do the grading with more open-ended type question types. I don't know if that helped answer your question, Dan.
And then Gavin, not so much a question, but a kind of a tip for everyone. He let me find it again. He found, he mentioned, and I quick Googled it, so I have it, the website, but SMOWL, SMOWL, and he points out that it works with the Safe Exam browser, and that's a proctoring option. So something that we might need to check out.
Oh, very cool. Thank you. Very useful. Yeah, so I'll get back to the slide here. So lab solutions, I mean, there are all kinds of concerns about lab solutions and what we need to do, where in some cases we don't really have a choice other than to do things in our lab, but how do we do that safely? And so there are some protocols that have been worked out and to do some things on campus and with, appropriate spacing and with face coverings and so on and with limited number of folks in the labs, and then doing some stuff that are online. And there are some, solutions and tools out there and videos that have been used in place of parts of those labs. Obviously, in the health professions, it's sometimes difficult to do some of the lab work virtually, but that's a continuous process for us, and I think we need to continue to examine what resources are out there. Instructional planning tools, that was mentioned, or support for faculty developing, and I think some of that we have already in place. It's not always feasible when we're having to flip a switch and say, okay, we're going to teach online now. But we have a system called the Quality Plus program at ISU. And Lisa Kidder, who is online here with us, is responsible for that. And she's done a great job in making resources available for faculty. And matter of fact, we had a special summer program for our teaching online course that we offer to our faculty, and we gave faculty incentives over the summer to take that class and to encourage people to think about what they need to do to plan and get set for fall. Anything you want to mention, Lisa?
I think one of the biggest things that I've really been thinking about with this whole process is that with the set and switch, a lot more technology is more common. So like Zoom, I don't have to do Zoom training anymore because we've done it all, which allows us to go back to the good solid foundations of objectives and outcomes and good teaching. So that has actually been quite interesting and helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, and kind of back to like our services, when we were all working remotely, I think one of the lifesavers for us was we just use Google Instant Messaging and while we're checking email and answering emails and communicating with each other and taking on different support calls. I mean, I think that has made us closer as a support group, probably more than anything. It was refreshing that we did that, and And we have other resources in place in Moodle that we do a live chat with our faculty and students. One thing we discovered is that we did probably more student support back in spring than we probably did faculty support as far as answering questions and directing students to the appropriate places, which is a little unusual since we are a faculty support unit, but at the same point, you know, we're responsible for Moodle and our learning management system, so it's one of those things where it's to be expected. Whether or not we have all the resources in place and getting, you know, people directed in the right, you know, to the right places, I think that was really our role in this whole transition. So with the faculty, so some improvements to say, better technology, you know, computers, cameras. I thought this free and reliable internet and student support, which I think is kind of interesting. And we try to do as much as we can, but I think there's something deeper there with the student support, because it's, you know, how do help my students with, you know, developing presentations and working in groups and doing well with, you know, forum discussions and so on. And some of that is instructional, but some of it also is the technology piece of it too. And how do I be successful online with that piece? Some students, no problem with that. Others, yeah, maybe need examples, strategies for that. And I think that's what we'll probably be looking even deeper into the student support piece of things going forward. I think that's really, we've always known it as being something that's important. It's just that I think we need to push it from this faculty support level, but we need to push it to get a more focused student support. So I'm gonna go ahead and, were some questions? I saw that there were some more questions.
There was a question about is the support traditional students, non-traditional, or a mix?
It's really a mix. It really is a mix. And I think the more the questions we got from the students were not always questions about the technology or how do I use Moodle or the tools in Moodle. It's how do I communicate with the faculty member? How do I identify what to do in a particular activity? Where do I find resources within my course? And all those things that I think go back to the instructional piece of things, and organizing and sequencing of our course materials and so on that we all know are needed. But you know, when you flip that switch and all of a sudden force people to go online, you were going to have those type of questions. And I think as far as the student support piece of things, I think we need to find better ways to help the students. And I think the way we can do that as a faculty support unit is make sure that the faculty are designing and developing courses that are suited to support students in that type of model. And I think that's where we can help them.
Yeah, and to echo that, a lot of the student support questions we get, I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them were really questions that needed to be directed to the faculty member.
Right.
And so they're still, you know, making that connection between faculty and students so that they have the conversations and they work together with our support, but to solve their problems.
But I think the other piece of that too is that we know that there is a question in the course, and it may be the instructor that could answer the question. I think a lot of times, and I can probably talk for all of our staff, is that we'll jump in a course just to see why the student's having that issue. And a lot of times it may be just the way the faculty member has something developed or designed, or maybe it hasn't been made available, or, you know, and some of those questions could be answered by communicating with the instructor and then the communication is sent out from the instructor saying, oh yeah, okay, well now it's available, or I see that I've only made it available to this group, or there are all these other things that are in place that we kind of come in through the back door to help support the faculty, support the students. And sometimes those student comments or questions help us help the faculty.
And then Gavin has a quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
Do we have course baselines or stuff in courses like virtual office hours that every single course has?
We really don't. We encourage it, but a lot of the courses that go through our Quality Plus program do have resources like that. How many have been through it? Maybe, what, 5% of our faculty have been through the Quality Plus program, if even that. And I think this has encouraged us to keep pushing forward with the program and supporting our faculty. I just, the one thing that I think is the biggest challenge is how do we get all these people pushed through a program like that really quick, and it takes time. And outside of hiring more people, there probably isn't a real good model. Let's see, are there other questions?
This is a Randy/Lisa question. So do we give faculty incentives? And I know we do, but I don't know, maybe Lisa can explain the incentives.
Yeah, I'll have Lisa talk about it.
So there is an incentive for the Quality Plus program. Let's see, I'm getting some echo. Michael, thanks. So we do offer our faculty a $4,000 stipend to go through the Quality Plus program. The Quality Plus program is in depth, so it requires 3 professional development. We do a mini student review that gives them some feedback. We also do an accessibility check. We have some baseline things that we are working on, making sure that faculty both understand. The whole entire process takes anywhere from 9 months to 2 years. We don't have cohorts. Faculty work independent on their own. And so it is a lot of work. So $4,000 for their first course through, $2,000 for their second course because we require less professional development. It also goes much more quickly. So those are the incentives. And our provost did enable an incentive for this summer. So faculty who participated in at least 4 weeks of professional development this summer are going to receive a stipend, and that was made available through the provost.
Thank you, Lisa. So we do a lot to try to support faculty with that process, and we know, and in the comments that we always get, matter of fact, in some of the qualitative feedback we got from this was just faculty don't have time, and we understand that. But at the same point, we're going to do what we can to do to support them with that process and give them as many resources as they can. The other piece of that too, and I just want to mention too, and Lisa may have mentioned it, but as part of the Quality Plus program, we assign some of our staff members to those individuals as they develop their course. We call them instructional design partners. And as they develop the course, those individuals help them build and develop and go through this process, which includes not only just the initial meeting and developing a alignment map for their course, and then the production and development of the course materials, to the accessibility pieces of it, of making sure videos are captioned, and all the materials, PDFs, whatever else that's being used in the course are accessible. And then also they do go through a student review. So we have our students that work in the ITRC review a course, and Lisa's and the teams developed a process to check off and make comments and suggestions to support that process if something's missing, and encourage the instructional design partner and the faculty member to include those resources. But yeah, so it's been very successful for the individuals that we have pushed through, and really this summer I think has encouraged more faculty to think about this process, going back to the, you know, the whole idea of, you know, we're doing it now. I mean, we're in it. So, and we need to start thinking this way. So just to end on kind of a funny note, and I want to make sure that we had these fun quotes that we got in the feedback, and the faculty member, you know, I'm tired beyond the capacity of rational responses. I thought that was something funny to share with all of you. But the student one, I think, is the best one. You know, I think you guys should have made the professors do live video classrooms instead of making the students learn the curriculum on their own. I just think that it's just an interesting tale of what the students wanted. Just show me a video. Tell me what I need to know. Don't make me do the work. I thought that was entertaining. I'll end it there, and if anybody else has any questions, please.
I guess if we have no further questions.
Dan, were you asking about Chromebook? Dan, were you asking questions about proctoring as far as Chromebooks?
You did have some questions earlier.
Oh, I see that Lance has answered those questions. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you, Lance. I was just scrolling through the chat here, making sure I didn't miss anything.
We do now have another question from Gavin.
Okay, do you
use shorter burst CPD or just the 8 weeks?
For the professional development, we also rely on Quality Matters workshops, which tend to be 1 to 3 weeks.
Gavin, I would just, if you have other questions, you probably just want to get together with Lisa at some point. She can kind of take you through the whole process, and she might even have some resources she'd share with you. There's a lot we've learned throughout the year or two that we've been heavily involved in the Quality Plus program, and a lot of the staff have been involved in this process. So we're all been exposed to it. Well, if there are any other questions, I want to thank everyone. I hope you learned a little, and I'm glad everyone was able to share with us. And if you have any questions or follow-up questions, please email me or contact me. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, I'm going to be stopping the recording here shortly, and the chat will be saved, and the video and the slides will be saved, and it'll all be available within the course. Thank you.